And a one! We are live again with the EU Wayback Machine. Way too many things because I'm annoying. Episode 33, Dark Knight's Devilry, and Tilotny Throws a Shape of the Devilworlds acclaim. That's what we're discussing now. And yeah, nice and sweet and short, I think. We'll see.
We're still in January 1982, so the first story we're covering today, a Dark Knight's Devilry, that's Empire Strikes Back monthly 153, also collected in Star Wars Devilworlds #1. Most timelines take place, according to most timelines, this takes place between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. We actually have another instance of Luke being shot down on a planet, so crash landing on a planet. So add that to your ongoing tally for all our viewers who have been able to keep track. I know I haven't. I think the tally is probably about 20 to 25 at this point.
I am going to make an effort to rewatch our streams at some point and try to retally, but that's not going to be today.
We're at 33 episodes, and I know the first several he was being shot down at least once in every episode we've covered, so it's probably in the 20 to 25 range if I were to venture a guess. But we go to the planet Journey here. So we have Luke, R2, and Leia. They start out aboard this Imperial troop transport, so they're captured. The sequence of events doesn't quite flow exactly in the story. So they start out being captured. We learn they were shot down later on in the story. But on this planet, there's these, what they refer to them as gorillas, but they're under the sand and they have these breathing tubes. And
like Tuskens.
Yeah, sort of like Tusken Raiders, but they're more rebel, fleet trooper type. They're pretty accurate. So they can take down this Imperial troop transport here and save Luke and Leia. I'm not sure they attack the transport specifically to free them, but Luke and Leia take the opportunity to get out here. All the stormtroopers are cut down by these guerrillas. And then the Imperial commander, he tries to leave. He takes off in a jetpack there. Rico Vant is
Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this guy. Yeah.
So yeah, all the stormtroopers get taken out right away. I feel like these people that live in the sand here, they must have some sort of military training. This must be some.
Yeah,
if they're not part of the rebellion, there's some sort of resistance to the Empire, right?
Right, gotta be. Let's see here.
And when he takes off in the jetpack, scroll back one page, one page or two pages.
Yes.
So he fires this tracking mechanism, and Luke thinks he's actually getting shot at, but he, in effect, fires this tracking mechanism that attaches itself to R2. And
I feel like R2 should have noticed.
Yeah, like R2 could say something, right? Like attach this strange device.
Fandom, so it's a little inconsistent.
So the guerrillas take Luke and Leia back to their leader. And
so this story is written by Steve Moore, artist Alan Davis.
Alan Davis is a big name. He's actually one of my favorite artists. He did Excalibur, which is British X-Men or Avengers, depending on how you think of it. And then he did a brief run on Detective Comics with Mike W. Barr, who we've heard from before, and I really like that. So anyway, continue.
Yeah, so back at the guerrillas' base, they have this sort of secret hideout, and Luke and Leia are brought to the leader. His name is it's a woman. She kind of looks like Wonder Woman, Mika Reen, and she is asking why the rebels are on her planet, and she sort of threatens them. and Luke's not quite willing to divulge the information. In fact, he has to get permission from Leia to tell her about the secret mission of why they're on this planet. And in effect, it's because of this thing called the Eternity Crystal. And the rebels found out about this ship that was adrift. In the end, it turns out to be a trap set by Darth Vader. But there's this ship that is made to look like it was from the planet Journey, Jerne, and it's been adrift for a while, and it has this coded information about the Eternity Crystal, which is more or less a time machine. It can undo previous events. And within this comic, they tell a little bit about the backstory of the planet Journey, how it used to be a bustling city. Now it's kind of a wasteland, but the Imperials have a base on there, and there's these resistance guerrillas that sort of fight the Empire here. But Darth Vader set up this trap of the Journey, the Eternity Crystal, unbeknownst to Luke and Leia. Leia's interested in the fact that it could be useful for the Alliance. Like, they could undo the destruction of Alderaan, right? They could undo the Death Star. They could even undo the Empire even coming to existence. So it's sort of this weird sci-fi, almost like horror story, very, very supernatural related. The fact that this Eternity Crystal would have this power. And they think it's at this city. Let's see if I have it in my notes here. It's supposed to be kept at this certain part of the journey.
Adoni Station.
Yeah, Adoni Station. Yeah. And Mika's not really willing to take him there because it's heavily guarded. Like the Empire knows whenever they move throughout the surface of the planet, like, they're easily detected by the Imperials. And Luke and Leia are sort of desperate to divulge the information to sort of convince them to take them there. Eventually, Mika agrees to, and she has the idea of taking this technology for herself. Like, she isn't quite sure if she believes the story, but if it is indeed a time machine or this crystal with the power to undo previous events, she could make herself, what does she say, Empress of the Universe. So she's very power hungry and eager to use this for herself, if it is indeed true.
We get earlier, we have this, the fact that Riker Vant, the fact that he escapes with a jetpack. Not that jetpacks don't exist in Star Wars, they do, but it's the way it's used in this story is a bit silly for my liking.
Yeah.
And the fact that he just keeps going until he reaches the Imperial headquarters, and it's about time too. This jetpack's just about out of fuel.
And he goes in there, and it's like an office building. Like, it doesn't look like the inside of the Death Star. It just looks like, some random workplace with cubicles, and they even have door handles. Like, there's no automatic doors or anything. And he goes back to his office. He alerts his crew of, like, oh, the rebels are freed. They're with the guerrillas. We need to send the squad after them, whatever. And he gets to his office, and Vader is standing there with his hands behind his back in his office. And we get some great dialogue from Vader there.
With paper and a pen. And
he looks real silly, too.
Yeah, but menacing, too. I think I wouldn't want to see Darth Vader in my office if I get there. But
I don't want his hands like that behind his back.
What do we think of the way of Vader's dialogue in this story?
I thought it's spot on. So the Imperial gets in there, he's sort of stammering, and Vader says, well, Vant, say something articulate. I become annoyed with men who whimper. And then he explains to Vader, well, I captured Luke and Leia. I had them. That's why I informed you to come here. Unfortunately, they got away. And Vader said, yeah, I expected you to lose them or whatever, and throws them to the ground.
That's pretty funny.
And then he says, oh, I managed to get a T tracer on the droid. So he has a read on where R2 is now currently. And Vader had this whole situation planned, the Eternity Crystal, like this story of the derelict ship that Luke encounters. It's all a trick to capture Luke Skywalker, because Vader's after him at this point in the timeline. And Vader sort of knew that Leia would be interested, and that Luke would accompany her, because he thinks Leia is so caught up on Alderaan that the prospect of a time machine to undo Alderaan's destruction would be appealing to her.
I mean, probably at least a little bit, all things considered. That's
what makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So the real answer is because Luke and Leia always team up together for some reason, even though she's like very important and should definitely not be on the front lines all the time. But that's besides the point.
Well,
I like when we're in the hideout there, the guerrillas hideout, they have Luke and Leia at gunpoint, and Luke's a little nervous. Like, normally we don't see Luke upset or distraught in any way, but there's this like creepy, guy smiling with a gun, pointed at Luke's head there. And I don't know, Luke's sweating a little bit there.
Yeah.
But then they explain the backstory of this derelict ship and what I mentioned earlier. And they finally agree to go to the location where they expect to find this Eternity Crystal. And Luke sees that there's fresh concrete poured near there. And this is a planet surface that's a wasteland. Like, there's been no active construction anywhere near there. So it doesn't make sense that there's freshly poured concrete there, unless it was a trap set by Vader. And it turns out that they try to find this capsule, like this structure where the Eternity Crystal is, and the guerrillas try to take it from Luke and Leia. Mikareen is like intent on becoming Empress of the Universe or whatever, and
when they arrive, she goes, "Well, that was easy," and Luke goes, "What are you talking about? You lost 6 guys," and she goes, "Who cares?"
Yeah, that's
not a good sign
with her people at all. But she blows up this structure, the freshly poured concrete, where supposedly the Eternity Crystal is. There's some emblem cluing them in on the fact that it's supposed to be there, and she uses a grenade to sort of blow open the door, and I think kills herself and some more of her men. Like, it just explodes.
Creepy guy smiling still.
Yeah. When she tries to go inside. Now, I don't know if that's the crystal itself. Obviously, the crystal is not real, but there's this explosive device set by Vader for him. Which is interesting because, we see in a lot of stories, Vader's intent on capturing Luke alive. And if this bomb were to went off, like, that could have killed Luke.
Unless this plan actually wasn't orchestrated by Vader, it was orchestrated by Palpatine.
I will say this: it's a very weird plan.
It's a very convoluted plan.
I'm going to get all these rebels in one place and kill them. How am I going to do that? By coming up with this whole story about the Eternity Crystal, and that was a thing used by the extinct indigenous aliens of this planet that can be used to turn back time. And of course, Leia's going to want that because she understandably wants to undo the destruction of Alderaan and the deaths of countless billions of people. But why would she believe that this is a real thing?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's convoluted. Like, with what we've seen of the Marvel comics and stuff, like, this is actually out of the whole Devilworlds like thing. Also, I want to clarify. Last episode, I was saying stuff and I was wrong because this is not the chess story with Vader. So that's my bad.
Yeah, that's Dark Knight's or Dark Lord's conscience, something like that.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I got that mixed up. But in terms of like the craziness of Devilworlds, this is probably the least crazy thing in this whole run. Actually, this seems like something you'd actually see in like a Marvel comic, but it's just also like so convoluted and unnecessary of a thing. Like Peter's like, oh, I'm gonna make up this thing, which they've seen things like this in Marvel, so I'm not even questioning that. That's fine. It's just the fact that Vader himself was like, I'm gonna do all this to get them in this place. Also, just with the timeline, if we're placing it, well, I mean, I don't know where we're placing it, but I don't feel like Vader would try to kill them at this point in time, or at least specifically if he thought Luke was going to be there. Because for all of his evil, he really wants to bring Luke to his side at this point in time. He does not want to kill him. That's like his last resort. So I don't think he would have this plan in mind for Luke.
He even says here, getting Luke Skywalker as well was a bonus.
Yeah, that's what it's like. Getting him as in grabbing him or as in killing him, because that doesn't seem like something you want to do right now.
Well, I don't.
Since he planted explosives there, obviously he wasn't too concerned about taking him alive. But
also, I'm saying like it just doesn't fit this sort of. If it's supposed to be after episode 5, that just doesn't work for me. And the whole plan just seems overly silly and complicated for Vader.
Yeah, so. I think theoretically this could take place after The Empire Strikes Back. I don't think it would make too much of a difference. In fact, it might even make more sense in a lot of respects. But any way you put it, it is after the point in time in which Vader learns about Luke Skywalker's name specifically. So it can't be too early.
And the fact that there's this moment here where Luke activates his saber right behind Vader and climbs out from underneath this wreckage, and
like Vader would sense them, right? They would sense each other.
You would think so.
Vader would hear him. It's not like lightsabers are silent.
Yeah, it's not like he's that far away.
No.
I don't know. I think the premise of the story works if it was like, it seems like something that happened in a Marvel comic.
Right.
But I just don't like Vader coming up with this plan.
No, it's
trying to kill him at this point in time.
I think this is the weakest of the Devilworlds.
It just seems
Luke throws a proton grenade at them. The Imperial officer dies. Vader doesn't, and they escape.
The end.
Vader gets buried under bits of detritus, and they escape in
a TIE bomber. I don't know why they're not getting these transports right. Like they have a ship in the previous Marvel issue that we covered that had like 3 little things in the middle, and this one has 2. Like this is obviously a TIE bomber. It's not a transport, but
damn, they're very slowly getting away.
Yeah, that's
the thing that Vader came in.
I guess in their defense, like they don't know the details of these ships yet, but like I don't know. Don't use this. I don't know what else to say. Don't use that.
Could this be the Vader clone that's in the Galaxy of Fear?
I don't want to. I personally, maybe you guys don't see it as big of a problem. I genuinely don't think it is acceptable at any point in episode 5, unless Vader feels it in a tight corner, to ever try to attempt to kill Luke at this point in time.
No,
he's very actively wants Luke to turn to the dark side at this point in time. He does not want him dead. He actively wants him There's no point in time right now where he wants to. The only time he considers killing Luke really is in episode 6 when his boss is threatening to axe him if he doesn't do as he's supposed to do.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
So Alex, are you saying there was no point in time from the point in time where where Vader learns Luke's name all the way to Return of the Jedi, or is there a point in time
I would say after he figured out who Luke was, because he works up to episode 5 of saying, "Hey, Palpatine, how about we not? How about we turn him?" So he's if he didn't have a direct moment before episode 5, definitely by episode 5, his goal is, I want my son on my side, because he has a twisted version of love right now where he's like, well, I want my son. I still have family. I didn't know I had family anymore, so I want him to be a Dark Lord like me. We can get rid of Palpatine. Actually, the new Palpatine.
Because there's a realization that, okay, his son did survive, like the birth.
Because before he had to verify the name is true. And once he figures that out, then it's like, once he knows that's actually his son, then yes, I don't think he'd want to kill him.
Well,
I think
there's a realization process, I guess, because he knows his name is Skywalker. Obviously, that's his name before he turned to Darth Vader, and he's Force sensitive. But I feel like he didn't come to the decision that he wanted to take him alive until the point in Empire Strikes Back where he talks to the Emperor and tells him if he could be turned, he could be a powerful ally. It's at that point in time, I think, from there on, he wants to try to take him alive, even though the Emperor is not for that.
But if this is after episode 5, I see it as a very big flaw of the story. That going to do that to Luke.
There's really not a great place for this.
Yeah.
Yes. It'll be a long while before we get to Vader's quest, but I will say I'm not a huge fan of that story, but there are 2 moments from it that I absolutely love, and one of them is at the very beginning where Vader learns Luke's name and he not only kills everyone else who hears it, he burns down an aviary.
Right. I need it to be pointed out that he does not just kill everyone and then the aviary. He kills everyone, including the person who brought him the name, his name is Ban Papiga, and he is a big parrot man. He is a large parrot man with an eye patch, like a pirate, and his name is Ban Papiga, and he has a scimitar or a sword, like a pirate sword.
That might be the only thing. I mean, there's probably a few things, but I'll give canon where canon's credit is due. I haven't actually read the issue. I saw a couple panels on Instagram like a few years back, and it is Boba Fett who finds out the name of Luke Skywalker, and there is a reasonable response from Vader after the fact once Boba Fett leaves, which is he's looking out into space. He's on like some sort of transporter, and he just gets like upset at the fact that he didn't know this all this time, and the glass kind of cracks.
Yeah,
because he lost.
That
his
is a pretty good scene.
And I generally that is a way better thing than all of Vader's quest.
I generally think that Vader in canon is significantly
probably the best thing they got going for them.
Literally the word for word the exact opposite. I think their Vader sucks. I think their Vader Vader sucks so hard.
Fair.
Because he doesn't suck. In A New Hope, he's like being led around by Grand Moff Tarkin and stuff. He is checked out of this whole Imperial shit. And in the Marvel comics, he's so badass, you know, he's like, I only see fear in dead men or whatever. That's a little bit later, but still, like, I don't know. I think Vader in between episodes 3 and 4 should be kind of a loser, especially towards the end of that period. Towards the beginning, sure, he's got all these people to kill, but like by 5 BBY, loser.
He's been doing this for 20 years, and at this point, he just wants to die.
And in the movie, we see like a bunch of characters Leia disrespects him like 3 or 4 times.
Right.
So,
yeah.
to his face, and he doesn't do anything. So that's my opinion. I think canon emphasizes like we think Vader is badass, but they shouldn't.
Oh, by the way, we have a special guest. 1 second. We have Brennan.
Hey, what's up,
Brennan?
Brennan?
Welcome.
Getting the
It's nice to see you
Supernatural
all.
Encounters
Great to
group
see you,
back.
man.
I can wish you a happy birthday in person.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
happy
you.
belated
Thank you
birthday,
all.
Brennan.
Happy belated birthday.
What's being covered today?
We're about to
we're
start
just finishing up-
Tilotny Throws a Shape.
Oh, let's
Yes.
go.
We just finished Dark Knight's Devilry for
So we just
issue
got through
Empire
the,
Strikes Back monthly 153. 153. We're about to go to 154.
and we were just I was personally complaining about Vader trying to kill Luke in this comic because I was making my stance that pretty much everywhere after episode 5 to the end of episode 6, Vader should by no means whatsoever want to kill Luke. Because he's actively trying to get him on the dark side.
We also speculated that there could be a workaround, that the fact that
Maybe
depending upon when this takes place, it could be the clone from Galaxy of Fear, the Darth Vader clone.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to see
I hadn't
somebody
considered that.
investigate that. But yeah. Brennan, do you have any
Yes.
thoughts on these stories?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Tilotny Throws a Shape is obviously very out there. Without supernatural encounters, I don't know that I necessarily like this story. I mean,
Agreed.
Leia like biting the dust and like resurrecting is just kind of weird, as well as the stormtroopers getting like. I mean, Tilotny throwing shapes in general is just kind of strange and bizarre.
Yeah.
But with the recontextualization of supernatural encounters, I enjoy it quite a bit because I know, of course, the story behind the story that's going on. But I think without it, I don't really like these at all, and there's some of the weaker stuff from the run.
That is
Yeah,
fair.
for sure.
I would agree with that, honestly.
I think Dark Knight's Devilry's it's an okay story. Like for the reasons we mentioned, I don't know if it makes sense within the context of the larger continuity, but I thought it made the most of the pages that, I mean, it's a shorter story, but I feel like we still got a pretty full adventure there. Tilotny Throws a Shape, on the other hand, as we'll see, it's only 5 pages. There's not much of a story there.
Dark Knight's Devilry is certainly stronger.
The point of the Eternity Crystal, it would be lore breaking if that did indeed exist. I mean, everybody says, "Oh, well, there isn't time travel in Star Wars." I mean, there is by legend, right? That's trap created by Darth Vader. So the fact that it is all a ruse, I guess, is helpful to continuity, because it could be the alternative, right? We could have this
there's nothing
infinity
about that
sort of situation.
There's nothing about the whole like sort of structure of the issue that is a problem, other than the placement, because I don't think Vader would do that, and it just seems like an overly convoluted plan to get all of them killed.
Sure.
It feels very like just cartoony.
Mm.
But otherwise it's fine, because it feels like something you'd see in Marvel. I just cannot get by the fact that Vader's like, I'm gonna blow up everyone, including my son, who I know is my son. Like if it had been like, oh, I'm gonna make it in a way where I distract Luke, so Luke's over here, and I can blow up all the rebels, then sure. But he knew Luke was gonna be in there. I don't feel like he would risk it at this point in time.
Agree. I think all of the Devil Worlds are problematic in some way or another.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They
Okay,
were
so
really only elevated by Joe's book. Otherwise, I'd probably just toss
Yeah,
all of
well,
them.
on their own, I mean, like on just as stories that we have to talk about, I think all of them have some kind of problem that makes them awkward to include in the ongoing canon.
Yeah,
and a few of them are just like weird, and I just don't like them.
A quick reminder: Devilworlds was primarily composed of Star Wars Weekly and Monthly, correct?
Yes.
Just republishing the British runs. Okay.
Yep.
Recoloring and republishing. Yep.
That's right. Right.
Okay,
Yep.
so Tilotny Throws a Shape. That's February.
The Devilworld stories; those were the UK exclusive stories.
Yes.
So,
Right. It was Star Wars Weekly, but it turned into the Empire Strikes Back monthly.
Yes.
after
Brennan.
Empire Strikes Back.
You're welcome, and or we're sorry.
Brendan,
We will take
Yes.
how old did you turn?
I'm 20 now.
Oh my
wow.
gosh, he's a bit too low. One more and he can drink.
Yeah, true. I won't be, but yes,
No, yeah, I'm just saying.
I
You could,
I could
yeah.
legally do that if I wanted to. Yes.
Fair
You go to
enough.
Mexico, you could right now. But
Yeah. Or if I just wanted to break the law, I could right now as well. I know
Yeah.
plenty of people who do.
I knew them too. Yeah.
Don't
I waited until I
incriminate.
was
Don't
21.
incriminate yourself on stream.
I'm
not
not
one of
me.
them.
No, I did it. I waited until I was 21.
I'm
Okay.
not one of them. I have no interest in such things. But what I do have an interest in is Tilotny throws a shape.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me too.
Transition. Let's
So-
It
Very
feels
good.
like you don't even need alcohol, Brennan. And when you read that story, you already feel like you're drinking. So it's
Right.
fine.
True.
It-
You already feel high.
It's a trip
Yeah.
in and of itself. Anyway,
It really is. I somewhat wonder if this story was born out of kind of the hippie culture of the 60s. Just like
I
that
think
kind of
Alan
mindset.
Moore
except it was written in the 80s, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
because I think Alan Moore himself is kind of a byproduct of some of those times.
He was born like 1950 some, so yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
think
he was
Scott, take
influenced
us-
by it.
Then he
Take
wrote
us away.
this.
Tell us what's going on
Right.
here.
No more
How
interruptions.
the shape was thrown.
Yes, no more interruptions. Okay.
So Tilotny
So-
Throws a Shape is written by Alan Moore, art by John Stokes, who I believe was the artist for Death Mask.
Hmm.
Oh wow. Yeah, the art maybe is a little bit similar there. Well, we're
I
at
love Death Mask.
February 1982, Empire Strikes Back monthly number 154. We're on an unidentified planet, so we don't know anything about where this takes place other than Leia's sort of drifting on a planet. She's running away from Imperials. She trips over this stormtrooper helmet, but it looks like it's been corroded. Like it looks like it's been sitting there for some amount of time.
Long time.
And she says, well, that's impossible because the Empire has only been in existence a couple decades. Like, even if it's a clone trooper helmet, it wouldn't make sense, right? So she just keeps on moving. She twists her ankle, so that slows her down a little bit. But then we see Tilotny, this sort of demon lady.
I do want to quickly draw attention to these three panels. I like this sort of thing. A single image broken up into three panels, sort of dividing your focus at key points.
Mhm.
And you can imagine Leia sort of moving across the page.
No, yeah. It's
following the
neat.
footsteps. You can see the trail of footsteps there leading over here. So yeah.
And then on the next page, we want to just scroll forward a little bit, Robert. We see Tilotny. There she is, sort of green demon lady. And then she has some compatriots too. The Splendid app and a couple others that I forget the
That
names
was
of.
Al for a bit.
That was
Splendid Al.
I've thrown a shape. I've invented form. I've invented mass. Oh, cleverest Tilotny.
I certainly think of this panel, this imagery when I think of this story. I will say.
Yeah.
I
I think
it's the thing
everybody.
you remember.
This is like the most like memorable. Then we have what are their names? I guess I could just look here, but what
This one's Horus.
Horus.
The ball is called Dandelion. The cone is Splendid.
That
Apple.
design, of course.
Cold Dandelion, Horless, Splendid.
you know it's been a
Apple,
long time when I
Tilotny.
forget the names of these guys, considering
Yeah.
how much time
We used to have it
spent
right up
talking
here
about 'em.
because we were talking about them like every week.
I wonder if there's a podcast where they talk about them in depth.
I wonder.
Maybe I'll leave a link in the description.
Maybe you
I
Or
could.
just
No,
look at
you
the
won't.
Romantics on YouTube.
I like
Watch 80+ playlists about this.
I like the way they talk about these aspects of reality as if they are just discovering them. Like everything has edges and things happen one after another. Time. Tilotny has invented time. This is a novelty. This is a first thing.
This is all an acid trip if you're just reading this. This actually weirdly makes complete and utter sense if you've read Supernatural Encounters. It's the most bizarre thing, because the first time I read this, I hated it.
It's such a Star Trek idea, like infinite, all-powerful beings discovering linear time, like the confines of it. It's such a Star Trek idea. This feels like a Star Trek one-shot.
It does, actually. Also, I invited Marcel. Unfortunately, he was going to a concert, the jerk. He said, hey, text me next time you're doing a live stream. I'll make sure to make it. I was like, perfect. Tilotny throws a shade. Your whole channel revolved around Supernatural Encounters. I'll have you on for that. And he goes, oh, sorry, bud. I'm going to a concert. I'm like, all right, frick you. But I want to make sure I mention Marcel since, you know.
I want to have a little bit of a crash out before I do, though.
Yeah.
I want to make sure. I want to make sure.
I was to say, Marcel's awesome. And like we were saying before, there is a long playlist of live streams where he talks about this specific story. So if you want to see that, go check out his channel.
3 of the people in this stream might have been involved with most of those.
Yeah.
True.
So,
I say to you, biblical.
Marcel is awesome, and you need to check that out. That Supernatural Encounters, Super Literary Encounters, if you haven't.
If you looked it up, it may be the longest podcast in the history of at least YouTube and maybe all of the internet.
On a specific book.
On a specific book.
Correct.
Sorry.
I do have a question, though.
Yes.
They mentioned these spirits, these entities, as the Bedlam spirits. I didn't see the name Bedlam mentioned in this story as I reread it. I may have missed it, but where does that come from? Where's the origin of the planet Bedlam come from?
That is a great question.
I don't know that off the top of my head.
I remember off the top of my head, but I don't right now.
I was thinking maybe cult encounters, possibly.
Maybe.
I don't think so. I think it may have been. Maybe it was the Essential Atlas, or I have no idea. It would have been something that came after this.
Oh wait! According to the book,
Bedlam,
at least,
yeah,
Plagueis
first identified in Darth Plagueis.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Okay.
But they were first identified as Bedlam spirits in the Essential Atlas.
There you go.
The planet was first named in Darth Plagueis.
Interesting.
Okay, there you go.
So late in the timeline, like 2011 or so.
Yeah.
2012.
That's pretty cool.
So yes, I like the fact that they talk about these things as if they're discovering them for the first time, and also they're like children playing with action figures. That's their sort of attitude towards humans.
That's so true. Good call.
And it is later explained in Supernatural Encounters why they act this way. In fact, this may be, without spoiling anything, some of their first moments ever.
Yes.
Yes.
Something like that.
Or certainly at least their first moments of like realization and self-realization.
Yes. They are basically this
then
story also.
I mean, if anyone watching is confused about what throwing a shape in the context of this story actually means, it means basically manipulating form and substance. So it begins with them creating forms for themselves, and with Tilotny claiming to have done the same for the humans that they then encounter, and with the reasoning, well, they're here, aren't they? So I must have.
Right. So I took it when I read this, like Tilotny has the origin of substance and shape, and like one of the others has the origin like of events, like one happening before the other. Another might be, so you have time, you have space, you have like all the dimensions, and each of these entities kind of controls a different dimension there.
I don't think they necessarily invented any of them. I think Tilotny has sort of convinced herself that she has.
Right.
For example, she claims to have invented time, and I think Hollis says you claim to have invented it, but you don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And And Splendid App doesn't understand time, and we get this panel here, but yeah, Splendid App does not understand time. Look, no, Splendid App. The essence of time is sequence, one place at a time, Splendid App, one place at a time.
Right.
Which, there is a principle in quantum mechanics called a quantum superposition, whereby it is technically possible for a thing to exist in two places at the same time, but that isn't what this is. This is just a reckless disregard for the laws of causality by manifesting multiple instances of oneself in the same time at once.
Right.
It is very funny, though.
Yeah, it is funny, and they call each other like stupid, like the Splendid App. You can't even tell what he's saying. Like he's just like saying gibberish at the same time. So they're all bickering amongst themselves about what's going on there. And they refer to the humans as like tiny people or something. I forget the stormtroopers.
Splendid App is quite cute. There's something rather endearing about him.
I do like Splendid App.
I like all these characters. I think they're all fun.
There's a reason Al made his name on the Super Literary Encounters podcast be Splendid Al for like most of the episodes.
To be fair, that was a pretty easy jump.
As far as characterization goes, none of them get too much here. But like you were saying, Splendid App is sort of charming, and he certainly is, in my opinion, the best of them as far as characterization given by Joe in Supernatural Encounters. But for me now, it's hard to differentiate how much I actually am gleaming from the original comic versus Supernatural Encounters, because now I superimpose my feelings on the characterizations.
Exactly.
I feel like it's
retrospectively.
I feel like I had no emotions toward any of them. I thought I was just in this fever dream when I read it the first time. I remember reviewing it originally and just totally crapping on it, thinking it was an awful, awful story in the Star Wars mythos because it's just so odd and out there. I feel like you really only come to appreciate this because really, there's a whole different opinions on the nature of the Supernatural Encounters book, which some people might not even know what that is that's watching the stream. It's a book that came out way later, dealing with all this weird bull in Star Wars that just was left unresolved. And this really forms the basis for a lot of like the cosmology of this setting. I mean, I'll even tell you a little spoiler in case you're interested. I mean, Tilotny later ends up being the mother, essentially, to Abeloth, without getting too much into it. But I think even saying that doesn't really do it justice. You have to read it to find out. But
yeah, there's a lot of context being skipped over. But
there's a lot of context I'm skipping over because it's like a 900-page book. But it's safe to say that they become kind of central, like majorly important figures. But if you just take this as the canon and are ignoring that, then this is really a pointless story and goes absolutely nowhere and just keeps you guessing like, why is this even here? What does it mean? What does this add to anything Star Wars wise? It really doesn't add anything other than confusion.
Right.
But with Supernatural Encounters, I think it does add a greater depth to the world as a whole and to these characters. And most of my feelings come from that. I don't feel like any of my strong feelings toward any of them come from this comic. But I feel me, Al, Brennan, Maxine, and Ken are super biased and affected by it because it's not only the fact that I read that novel, it is the fact that I spent several hours of my life with these people discussing.
Usually late at night too, when we drive.
Late at night, we kind of form this bond toward the story and each other. So it's kind of like, it's not just that it's connected to this book. It is intrinsically linked to the time spent with Al and Brennan and Marcel, that it holds a special place irrationally in my mind.
Yeah, I have said, I said at the very end of Superlit that this became my favorite Star Wars book, and in part that's because it had a bunch of cool things and had all this lore, had a bunch of great characters, had one of the things that I wanted from the end of the expanded universe, which is like what happened to Visas Mar after Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Right.
But the big thing is that I got to make all these lovely friends and meet all these wonderful people, and that I got to do things like this, because that is, again, why I'm here. Is because
Like this podcast would not exist without super literary encounters.
Direct link, but
yeah, it's a direct link. Like I want to do my podcast in publication order, and that was partly to do because of Joe. I the first live stream I really did was on the history of space opera with Joe, because he was very knowledgeable on that aspect, and part of his whole thing was making giving homage to what people are forgetting because they only remember Star Wars, even though George Lucas was heavily inspired by several other things that he worked into, like the Wookiees already being a thing in other people's works. They weren't called Wookiees, but they looked just like Wookiees.
Right.
And George is kind of like, I'm going to take that since nobody's talking about it and throw it in Star Wars, and made it all kind of fit back retroactively into existing within the same continuity.
Yeah.
But I think the story kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie for just counting this.
The punchline to all of that is that this story.
Yeah.
I disagree.
But this live stream exists because of
okay, but Robert, you like weird things.
Yes,
that is true.
Dark Knight's Devilry doesn't do much for me. For me, I don't like it nearly as much as this story because it introduces some weird stuff, but it sort of keeps it quarantined in the flashback. It doesn't really have much bearing on the present day plot.
Yeah.
I mean, it does inform it in the sense that they're going after this thing and they're looking for it here, but it doesn't. They don't really do anything with it.
Right, it's a throwaway story.
No, I mean within the story itself. But I would say for Devilworlds as a whole, the Alan Moore stories I really like. The Steve Moore stories, not so much. Sorry, Steve Moore.
I think he died around the time the EU was decanonized. He died in like 2014. That's a bit of an aside. I don't hate this story. It's just kind of baffling. It's always been just baffling.
I do like weird stuff.
There's these things, and they have this bizarre out of context argument or discussion about like things existing, and then they send Princess Leia and some stormtroopers back 8,000 years, kill her, turn her heart to stone or whatever, bring her back to present, and then it's over, and then we don't talk about this ever again. It is a what's it called? It's a big-lipped alligator moment. If anybody knows like TV tropes, it is a thing that has no context, is never mentioned again, and is just bizarre.
Yeah, I mean,
that being said, what we kind of talked about earlier, at the very least, Splendid App has the most interesting dialogue of the characters, and the most interesting about it is the center of the spirits themselves, because Star Wars was in its early phases of building out its mythology. And so this is a way more fantasy-esque type of story where we've got gods and spirits, and it's way more folky. It reminds me of some kind of folk tale that would be
mysterious universe.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the kind of folk tales that would be told in colonial America. I've been reading a lot of early colonial American literature recently about tales of don't go in the woods because these spirits are out there. And it's very much on that kind of energy where it's like, here we are on an isolated planet, and there's this other that's out here, that's lurking, that's supernatural, that we can't understand, and it's more powerful than us. And so I think it harkens back to kind of an earlier time of storytelling, but on an acid trip, like told by a meth head. And so ultimately it leads to an interesting story in isolation, but one that doesn't personally resonate with me because it didn't go anywhere until Supernatural Encounters, and now it does resonate. I think that's ultimately my piece to say on the story.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, all the Devilworlds stories are pretty wild and out there, and some of them have more of a story to them than this one. This is probably as short as something you'd read on the back of a cereal box, right? It's very, very short.
Very short.
But it is interesting in how they establish these spirits, these demon, god-like creatures. But they encounter Leia, of all people, who is the daughter of a chosen one, right? The created through emergence in the Force and all of that. Out of all the people in the galaxy to encounter in this adventure, it's very strange that they would encounter Leia.
It really is. I wonder if the story would work better if it was a random person.
I think
Star Wars.
It still would have worked, but it probably tells you something about that. Like, I don't think them encountering Leia here is by coincidence.
Right.
In the grand story, like knowing everything that we know now, obviously we didn't know at the time this was created that Leia was
from like a Watsonian perspective, like in universe perspective, it makes sense that they were drawn to this chosen one.
Very true.
Chosen one. In a Doyleist perspective, she is one of the main characters, and you gotta give her something to do.
Yeah.
Right. And it makes even more sense in the light of like the Mortis arc and Anakin going there.
It's also weird because she's wearing the episode 4 robes that she's kind of ditched. So it's like,
well, supposedly, so I'm
by herself.
Look, she was doing her laundry and she dipped back in and got one of her favorite outfits.
Supposedly Wikipedia says this is 0 ABY, so maybe even before A New Hope.
There was actually an issue of the Marvel series a while ago that
I was just about to get to that, where it's Star Wars number 35. That's where she has a bandaged ankle, and that is what the Wook is claiming is the connection.
And there's an editor's note that says something like from a story that has yet to be told.
Oh.
Huh. So I think that's why they have it in front of or behind Vader's quest. But I think that should be swapped anyway. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So
Vader's quest is problematic no matter where you put it, right?
Okay.
It's funny because it was trying to make things less problematic and instead made them way more muddied.
Right.
Al, do you know what this makes me think of a little bit? There is, I believe, a Green Lantern story by Alan Moore where I haven't read it, but from what I've heard, I know that Harry's talked about it a little bit, and it goes into the various different life forms that a Green Lantern can be, from a planet to an abstract mathematical theorem. And it's very interesting. It gets into the, well, I can't say that really having not read it, but based on its description, it sounds like it gets into a lot of the sort of weird territory that we see here.
Yeah. That's something that gets expanded on a lot later. There's he's a Yellow Lantern, or he, quote unquote. It is a Yellow Lantern, but there is a living plague who is made a member of the Sinestro Corps in the 2000s. So they keep using those weird ideas. I forget what his name is.
Brennan says bye-bye. He had to go.
Oh,
so he's not going
good to see you, Brennan. Good to see you.
Thanks for dropping in.
Anyway, these two have a little conversation. She sends him back in time.
Yes, you insult Tilotny because the tiny mover is more elegant than your null inversions or Dander's anti-concepts. My anti-concepts were sublime in their nothingness, pathetic Tilotny. Even hopeless splendid app is better styler than you.
Yeah, this is bizarre.
Yeah, so they turn the stormtroopers. They morph the shape into like diamond. I don't know.
Yeah, something I don't know.
All of the internal organs, like they mentioned, they're supposed to be soft, and you turn them hard, and then
they're sort of trying to one up each other. These Tilotny has convinced herself that she's created these humans when she hasn't, because she's sort of under the impression that she's created everything, including time, because it's there, so she must have, right? That's That's her thinking
yeah,
here.
her
And so
deluded mindset.
And so then the stormtroopers appear and they go, "Oh, you repeated a shape. You got 3 of the same thing here. That's unimaginative. Okay, let's make them different then. What can we do here?"
Right.
So she turns one of them into diamond, it looks like.
Yep.
And
I
all
should
is
say
clear.
one thing I do get from the story is that they are not evil, that they are very clearly amoral. Like they have no
Yes.
concept of morality. I definitely get that very clearly from this
Yes,
story.
I like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
They don't really see people as people. They're more things.
Like they truly just don't comprehend like right from wrong. Like it's not that they're trying to be malicious. They just don't understand.
Yes.
They're stupid. They're stupid.
Well, in a sense, their minds are kind of
they're like
things.
big babies at this point.
They're big babies with big power.
Yeah, they
yes.
You know, not to get too much into the story over there, but like
yeah.
They just come into existence at this point. To not complicate things, let's just say I like the explanation given later on. This again, it's just contextless. It's just like, I'll just turn your heart to stone.
Like, all right, I guess you can
you're
do
dead.
that.
Whoops.
So Leia dies.
Yeah, she dies. She really dies in this story, guys. Dies.
Yes.
Not a fake out either. That's
no, like she's dead.
But
end of
flip the page.
An unsubtle change, Vulgar Tilotny. This first tiny mover has things inside it to make it work. They are soft things. I shall make them into hard things. And he turns her heart to diamond and she dies.
And now if we flip the page...
Yeah, that's
pretty gross body horror.
That's for them, this is sort of the equivalent of taking apart 2 bionicles and making them into one.
Yeah,
that is true.
Pretty messed up.
And they
I miss
split them
Bionicle.
back.
2001 to 2003 were good years.
That's fair. They split them back up, and then they revive Leia.
Just Leia.
Just like
okay. And this is the equivalent of children going, okay, it's time to go home. You stupid child, it's your job to clean up.
Basically.
Tilotny will not tidy up. That splendid app, who is stupid, correct the disorder. As you wish, do as Tilotny says, splendid app. Myself, I am tired of shape and substance. Let us leave, cold dander. And then they are gone, and only splendid app is left to put things back how they were. All this time and space confuses him, but no matter. He will do his best.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
So he resurrects them, resurrects her. Oh, dude!
Again,
so what happens at the end?
He gets the time messed up for the stormtroopers because one of the they identify one of the stormtroopers as the navigator on the shuttle that they came in. He looks at the star constellations and he says they haven't been in that formation for however many thousands of years before, and obviously they realize like we've somehow traveled into the past or whatever. Leia sees their decayed bodies there, the bones,
and that is why we saw the. That is why we saw the stormtrooper helmet at the very beginning of the story.
Right.
So sort of like a loop.
Pretty trippy.
Yeah. It's
that's basically it.
Yep. It's a really odd little 5-page story.
So we've got these 3 stormtroopers stuck there, presumably dying of dehydration
and hunger.
And hunger.
Did they get desperate enough to eat each other? Who knows?
That's a scary thing to think about, probably.
But they're stuck all alone on this lifeless planet with no way off, and
Do
they all
those
died.
stormtrooper helmets have limited air supply?
I mean, she's breathing just
Well,
fine. So,
Well,
Yeah,
that's
it's a
true.
breathable
I didn't think
atmosphere.
about that one.
well, if depending on how far back, maybe not. But that's that's a separate
It's
question.
a whole other thing.
Yeah, but yeah. So
That's right.
that's so those 2 devil worlds down. I say 2
Devilworlds
devil
down.
worlds down.
Now this
Um,
is so. Splendid App presumably put them back the way they were when they first found them, which would mean that Leia still has the sprained ankle. So
That explains why she has it in the other story.
There you go.
I think overall, as for my first time reading this, I didn't really enjoy it. I still don't. I mean, it makes the world a bit more of a mystery. People always complain about the prequels explaining how midichlorians work, which doesn't explain the Force. It simply explains how people access the Force. So I don't see that as a problem. But some people are like, oh, it ruins the magic, blah, 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 blah. But this goes beyond that, because this is the most unexplained, supernatural, magical thing you could possibly get in Star Wars. And there's no explanation. So if the prequels upset you, I guess this could theoretically fix it, because you get no explanation, period, on how that
There
all
you go.
works. But for me, I didn't enjoy this story. However, I will say, without this story, supernatural encounters doesn't exist. And without supernatural encounters, I don't know if I would have ever met Al or done the whole thing. And I don't think this entire podcast on the EU Wayback machine, the way it is, would exist without superliterary encounters. I don't know if I would have even done this if not for superliterary encounters. So, by and large, this whole stream that you're watching right now only exists due to this very specific comic, because the novel kind of revolves entirely around this comic, strangely enough. So, which I was not expecting when I picked up the book, that there would be such central figures in it.
That
So,
5 pages would leave to like 1,000 almost.
yeah. So I'd say didn't enjoy it personally, but I'm forever indebted to Alan Moore and this specific comic issue in a long about way.
Alan Moore accidentally creating things that I like. This is a pattern. I couldn't agree more with Alex. I'm a little bit less negative on the story. A little bit, just like that much.
Just a
that
tad,
much. Just a teeny bit.
Yeah.
You know.
As I said, I actually really like this story, even without supernatural encounters. It's I really like all the Alan Moore Star Wars stories. Again, not so much the Steve Moore stories. Those I'm lukewarm on. But yeah.
So,
but I like that they're self-contained.
A different flavor for Star Wars, for sure.
Yeah, they are self-contained, sort of one-shot stories, and rather than doing a something that's completely forgettable that will have no bearing on anything else ever, it takes the opportunity to do something weird, something that is at least memorable.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. They're definitely memorable. They're different genre. I mean, you think of something later on like Death Troopers, right? Red Harvest. Star Wars doesn't really do a lot of horror. I mean, occasionally you get like Galaxy of Fear or things like that.
Right.
This was the first attempt at that, and I'm not sure they were great stories. They weren't bad stories in my opinion, but they're definitely memorable, if nothing else. I personally, just as a general rule, don't like the hard like fantasy stuff in Star Wars, the Mortis stuff, these supernatural godlike creatures. the Force is one thing, but I think it can be taken to an extreme, and often is. Like later on, I'm thinking like, Cross Current, Riptide. There's some wild stuff out there with the community and Abeloth later on. I'm just not a fan of that, right? But it doesn't, I'm not gonna pin that blame just on these stories or Supernatural. It's just not my cup of tea generally, that I don't really like that aspect of Star Wars.
I think I'm with you though. I don't actually like that stuff existing, but like it does now. Like it is a part of the EU, so it's like, well, then I want to explain if it's going to exist. So that's why I'm like.
This was an ongoing discussion. I think you and I argued about this specifically, Alex, when Mortis gods came up. I was like, I hate these characters. I hate them so much. I hate all the Mortis stuff. I don't like any of it. I don't want any of it to be here. And I'm fine taking all of TCW
and throwing out the window. Yeah,
gone. Don't care. But we'll resume that argument in 12 years
when we get to TCW.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get through some arguments anyway.
But my mindset has always been, if it is included in Star Wars, if it is now a part of it, regardless of my personal feelings on it, then I need to find some sort of resolution and making it all fit and be cohesive and whole. So when they introduce something I don't like, I need something else to go by and make it somehow work. So I feel like that's what Supernatural Encounters did. And other stories like Darth Plagueis fixed a lot of things just that were already in the EU that I had some like conundrums with, and made it fit a little bit. Like even TCW, which I don't like that much. I felt like Darth Plagueis made some things in it make it work a little bit better. There's a little problem like Darth Maul and that whole thing, trying to squeeze that and make that work with the Dathomir thing and dropping it off to Sidious. I'm like, I don't know about that, but it did its best, and I appreciate it for trying. And so I feel much the same way about that. But I definitely wanted to hear Scott's opinion on this story, because I don't think you've gone through all of Supernatural Encounters. So I really wanted to hear from somebody that doesn't have that context and what they felt about these. So.
I'm always for more explanations, things that weren't exactly wrapped up. I am to some extent against wrapping up every single loose end. But the fact that we get a little bit more information about some of this stuff, even if I'm not the biggest fan of it, I think is a plus. There's also something to be said about some of the wild stuff out there. Like, for example, metachlorians, when those were made a thing in the prequels, those were kind of, ignored, like the explanation of that. And it could be because George Lucas just said that's off limits. But I think to some extent also, like, the fans didn't want to know anything else about that. Like, that was just kind of a bad idea to begin with. So we just decided to leave that alone. And I think, maybe that's the right direction to go with some of it as well. But everybody's different. Everybody's fans of different things. So I just, in general, like I said earlier, as a general rule, I don't like the hard, like, supernatural aspect of Star Wars. The horror aspect of, like, the Devilworlds and Galaxy of Fear and instances where they did that later on, that's fine. But like when it gets too out there and too crazy, I think it takes away from Star Wars a little bit for me.
I think I'm just, before we clog out, I think I'm on the same page with that. My mindset is simply that, but it's been introduced, so regardless of how I feel, it is now a part of it.
Right.
There is a part where we could just ignore it, but
I believe we've got.
It causes bigger problems if we ignore it. In my mind.
I believe we've got Harry in the comments.
Oh, hey, what's
Harry? Up? Hey, it's the SE editor here.
How you doing, Harry?
How you doing?
Good to see you too.
Robert's
Harry.
always here.
We were actually just about to wrap up.
Yeah, we were about to wrap up.
But I think that's all I got to say about.
Pretty much, yeah.
Whole thing.
That might be it for the month. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
I don't know what we have next anyway. I haven't looked at the schedule for.
We're still in 1982, so we have to suffer a little bit further until we get to Return of the Jedi.
Fortunately. But there's some highlights. Shira Breen.
There's some highlights. We're gonna get. We're gonna get to Fish Guys.
A little roller coaster moving up. So
Marvel 1977, that series gets really good at this point forward. There's still some stuff with the LA Times Weekly that I think is a little bit boring. We're just about through. I think we might have one or two like Devilworlds stories to
yeah,
cover.
I think so. Still have to do the conscious one with the chess.
And then there's the one where Luke is like in like a sewer or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't remember the
Henry says, or not Henry, Harry, sorry, I'm tired. Says, for me, when it comes to Supernatural and Star Wars, I think given its pulp roots, that it's fine for him.
There's also degrees, like, like spooky, like, ooh, unexplained stuff. Like, okay, that's fine. Yeah. Like, I think when you get like the main characters of the franchise interacting with the gods and like pulling them down to the ground or whatever, throwing them across the room and like entering like another dimension and shit, like into the sun. Yeah. Anyway, but that's again 12 years from now, and we start talking about TCW. Me and Alex are gonna get into. I don't even think we're gonna disagree.
I don't even love the bonus art.
It's just gonna be like, just get rid of this. Get rid of this.
It's just like you literally can't get rid of it because of Fate of the Jedi, unless you just discount it entirely.
Let me
discount Fate of the Jedi.
Let me get a little prop. You take it. You take this, and you just gone. Out. Not this.
That's the problem with connected universes and it's
out.
Like,
throwing it out. Anyway,
throwing it out.
We're going to have more of this sort of stuff to talk about when we get to Blind Fury and Dark Lord's Conscience.
True.
Yes, true. We get to see Vader freaking annihilate some squid guy. It'll be fantastic.
Goodbye, Squidward. But
hi, Squidward. But yeah, until then, that's pretty much it. We made it to an hour and 11 minutes, mostly because I don't know when to shut up, so that's on me. But hey, we did it. It's under. It's. We're not an hour yet, so I count it as a win. So thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time for whatever we discuss. Until then, subscribe to Scott because he does stuff occasionally with like trading cards and whatnot.
I just do card games now. Like I'm a card game channel, not Star Wars.
You, Alex, you managed to bring on card game, like DC Comics, and then I guess Hellboy. Robert, you don't.
Robert doesn't make content, but he is the voice. I still don't know when that's coming out.
Yeah.
But Robert is the voice of the audio.
That's Star Wars related. So that's something. Yeah. Okay.
No, hopefully he does. I do hope maybe someday to do a Hellboy stream with Robert exclusively because that's his favorite thing.
There you go.
And then maybe Al one day will make DC and Marvel content for all of you to enjoy.
That would be wild. But until then, I think we're calling it.
See you next time. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
All right.